The meaning of life. What is the meaning of life? Is there a goal for living? The answers vary, but something that has been ignored as the ultimate goal for living is to pass an individual's genes to the generation. Biologically speaking, every species on Earth has a common goal, which is to fit in on this planet and proliferate, whether it is bacteria or human. There are reasons why things are like that. Why would things look as they are? Ultimately, the final goal is so that the Homo sapiens human gene can continue to thrive on this planet, so that this species does not go extinct. The Mother Nature that is always talked about is really interesting, as it reflects the power of the balance between randomness and equilibrium. It is that randomness creates equilibrium in a way that can be described, but not fully as it should be. For example, we might say that natural selection would eventually make a species population fit by selecting for the advantageous genes that have occurred through mutation. But the thing is that it is completely random, and Mother Nature doesn't really select any genes. And this randomness is the cause for the goal of every living organism on Earth. Something really interesting about living organisms is that we still are not sure what they are. With the definition of the meaning of life being that the goal is to pass on an individual's genes to the next generation, one could argue that viruses are living organisms. They may not have some basic components of other living organisms as we classify, but again, that is completely random. They have evolved to not have these common structures. They may not have metabolism, no neurons, no notochord, no feeding appendages, no body cavity, no digestive tract, but they have evolved to not have them. Their way of passing genes to the next generation does not require these structures. It is an adaptation for them to not carry metabolism. It makes them more fit, and we can clearly see it with their easy spread between animals, creating pandemics, killing whole farmhouses. They have achieved their goal as a living organism, which is to pass their genes from generation to generation. This common goal of life has been achieved by all the species living today. Every species that still exists has adapted to ensure that their genes can be passed to the next generation. These species have ensured that their offspring had the resources to carry offspring themselves, and so on. As it is the continuation of their genetic material that matters, naturally this forms a competitive environment on this planet. Species compete for the same resources, habitat, food, mate, etc., because the ones that get the best resources have the higher chance of passing their genes off to the generations to come. This competitiveness is what also drives natural selection, but also changes in behavior. If a species has evolved earlier to adapt on land, that species has all the advantages, and it would be very difficult for other species to compete with it. Other species would thus need to have random, beneficial mutations on other genes that partially occupy the land niche, for example, but also another niche, like trees, for example, if we were talking about land animals. Different species would need to evolve differently in order to compete with others, which is a reason why species are so diverse. At the end, the ultimate goal would be to have a better place to exist and provide safer opportunities for offspring to continue to pass on the species' genes. But competitiveness is also seen on smaller scales, like in mating populations. Females, for example, would tend to choose the male that is physically stronger and braver. They effectively show this by dueling each other. Obviously, the one that wins proves to the female that he is capable of defending her and future eggs or offspring from predators and competitors. Females would also choose, for example, males that sing better, because males that could sing well would be able to easily teach their offspring the right songs specific to their species. Another example of a female's choice would be to choose a male who has brighter colors, who has better form overall, because she knows that if the male is able to attract females, their offspring would inherit half of their genes from the male, which would give them a survival advantage in the future. The point is that while mating, females would tend to choose the strong, intelligent, beautiful male because they know that their offspring would be able to inherit some of these traits so that they themselves would have higher chances to attract other mates. What is interesting is that this behavior naturally occurs, as in they don't really choose their mate by thinking about all of these characteristics. Something more hidden, something in every species, gives them the instinct to behave like that. Animals probably have never been taught that a good mate would